Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our coverage of the summit. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here from, of course, RHAP. We know reality TV. And with me to talk about episode 5 of the summit is Chappell. How you doing, Chappell?
Taran, I'm great. I feel like the summit is coming back. Like we had some peaks, we've had some valleys, and we're coming back up to a top of a peak. Gonna hit a snow line soon, and hopefully on the other side of the zip line and the rappel will be and some really epic episodes for this second half of the summit. I guess this premiere season of the summit on CBS, but not the first summit ever. I guess you know what I'm saying.
I
We're back.
do know what you're saying. Yes, much like a roller coaster or a hike of a mountain, the summit has gone up, it's gone down, and there's been lots of tears and screams along the way.
Yeah. The screams are great. I'm sorry. I think that they really heighten the tenseness in the room when it comes to the summit, because I think sometimes it can get a little like they're hiking this way, they're hiking that way. They're going across a bridge, but when you have to start zip lining or rappelling places, oh yeah, people just start screaming at the top of their lungs, and it's okay. This is the game. I like it. I want more. Again, I told you, I want more dramatics from the summit.
Yes, and I feel like episode 5 did deliver on that. I feel like we got into some more of the strategy, which I thought was nice. I felt like the challenge was dramatic enough. It certainly felt that way to the people doing it. And then the vote itself at the end throws a little curveball and made it more dramatic, which I thought was kind of fun as well.
Yeah. And the summit will, they love the theatrics, like they really like to, okay, Manu Bennett's gonna come in, sit you down, tell you just how important your job is here every day. And then when you don't do what he wants, the mountain keeper is gonna get upset, then he's gonna come and shut down your whole tribal council. So it was very good. What do you think about Manu Bennett in the opening of these episodes? Because it's the longest like opening sequence I've seen on any show.
I feel like it, and listen, I'm no mathematician, but it feels to me like 50% of the summit is talking about the summit
Yeah.
and showing clips of the summit that you're going to watch or have already watched.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The first quarter of the episode for sure is just Manu Bennett being like, okay, earlier in the season, this is exactly what happened, but the music's behind him, the score is crazy, he's grunting at us. And so it's like, oh, you're like, oh my God, yeah, this is great. And then when they start going, it's like, okay, they're walking again. Cool. So it's like it looks cooler in the montage than it does in practice. But I think it's just because this is such a long hike, right? They're going so far. There's only so much that's going to happen. This person's going to trip. This person's going to be not going to be able to climb over something. You got to fill in those spaces with other things, and they do a good job of really leaning into talking about the summit, exactly as you said. Just hey, that's the summit over there, and we got to tell you how important it is that we get there on time.
Yeah, it's really like I feel like we started this episode like, okay, previously on the summit. Remember Tony?
Like Tony, yeah, they cut us all the way up.
Yeah, and then also like you're watching Survivor and you end up getting spoiled on like what's going on in the summit, 'cause they show like a whole scene from the summit. Last week they showed the whole like, oh, turns out the person that didn't have a partner gets to decide. I was like, what? That was the whole twist of the episode.
That was the whole twist. Luckily for me, I was not paying attention, so I actually was very surprised about this because I do zone out during the summit previews just because I know how the show works. When we see the preview, it's going to take out a big old chunk of the show that I want to watch as well. So I try to skip that one, and for that very reason. So I went into this not knowing that it was going to come down to two people being on the chopping block, very big brother of them, to be able to just whittle this down to two. How do you feel about it being a one-time thing potentially? Or do you think this is something they should probably repeat in the future, kind of like the nominees from Big Brother?
I think this is actually a very fun way to determine nominees,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden now you really got them like thinking about their pace, right? Like
Hmm.
nobody wants to be first, nobody wants to be last. Everyone's just going to be walking in a line. It's a
Yeah.
horizontal line.
holding hands. You like, look, we're all going across this together. It's much better than pissing off the Mountain's Keeper, because I was waiting on the Mountain's Keeper to do something all episode. Manu points out at the very beginning, like, oh no, big mistake here. They're leaving Patty behind. Mountain's
Big
Keeper is
mistake.
not gonna like this. Yeah. And then the helicopter flies over. He's like, the Mountain's Keeper's on his way. He's like, I'm thinking, oh God, what's it gonna do? And it gets over there, and the helicopter just parks kind of in the air, just looks menacingly at them, like, and then they're like, I think the helicopter's trying to tell us something. I said, what? It's just a helicopter.
And the way that this manifests is perhaps, you know, the bow moment is great. Perhaps my favorite moment of the summit, because they're just like, okay, time to vote then. And Manu goes, okay. But then again, no,
not doing it. Not doing it.
It's almost like he forgot, like he was supposed to do something. He was like, okay, time to vote. Wait a minute. No, that's not what we're doing.
The Mountain's Keeper called in and was like, hey, I'm not done with them. He's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to leave, but guess we have to talk about this. Guess we have to have a discussion, because he's not, the Mountain's Keeper, they're not happy. They're not happy. And now you have to pay. And I was thinking, how do you punish these people, right? How do you punish somebody for being in the back when someone has to be in the back? But then I guess I started looking at, maybe this is going to land directly on Dusty. They did a really good job throughout this episode talking about how Dusty's whole entire personality is just winning. It's really all that he knows how to do. He doesn't know how to do anything else but win and be a leader. And he's just like, it's unnatural for me to slow down for other people, actually. And I love Pati dearly, but she could go. I don't want to vote her out, but if they get rid of her, I'd be sad. But at the same time, I need to win this game. And he even said at one point, people all like, I'm looking at all these people with like price tags over their heads. They're like, oh yeah, like he put a dollar amount on all these people. He just wants to win it. And so I felt like they're gonna blame Dusty for this entire thing. And it looked like his castmates didn't really blame him, because they're like, somebody got to be in front. But they definitely
he didn't ask for this, Chappell.
He didn't ask for this. I was like, well, I mean,
he never even asked for it.
But didn't he? Like, he didn't have to be first. Yeah, but I mean,
somebody needed to do it, Chappell, and it was
somebody needed to do it. But I think he asked for that. Like, or did they?
No, Chappell, he didn't ask for it.
I was like,
he didn't ask for it.
I vividly remember him asking for, like, unless they drew straws or something like that off camera, he definitely put himself in that position. I felt bad for him. I did. But Manu being like, it's between you and Pati, I was like, damn, sucks for Pati. She's not making it out of this.
Then again, no, Pati.
Was there any suspense for you, Taran, as to who was going to go home?
You know what? Not really, until Becky Lee was like, no.
Yeah.
not my girl Pati. And I was like, wait a minute. From what they've shown me, Becky Lee controls this mountain. And then they go into the vote, and it was like, who's voting out Dusty? And I was like, here we go. Becky Lee raises her hand.
Oof.
Oh, and Dennis. That's it? Ooh.
Now, this is fun because, I don't know how hard Becky Lee was trying to swing the vote. Like, we know she's like, I'm not going to vote for Pati. I'm just not going to do it. But was it one of those, I'm not going to vote for her. If y'all got to take her out, fine. I just won't be in support of that. Like, I physically cannot do it. Like I'm a silent supporter from a distance. But like, I didn't know she was actually trying to swing everybody to come with her.
That's what it felt like to me. But then I feel like in her confessional, she was like, I'm not going to let this happen. And that was like, oh, she's actually going to, like, this is more than just an I can't do it. She's actually going to try and use her influence here. But then it did not seem to go that way. So I don't know how hard she tried.
I think that's good news for us, the audience, because it did kind of feel a little bit one note with Becky Lee seemingly being like the front runner. I think anybody who's watching this could see that she hasn't really shown a lot of weaknesses, and no one's talking about her as a target. So you could pencil her in for the finale at least, or whether or not she makes it to the summit. That's another story. But as far as being a character that lasts a long time, she seems like she's in control of her spot, right? But if this was her trying to swing the vote, and now she wasn't capable of doing that. That means she doesn't have as much influence as she thought or we thought that she had, and maybe she's on the bottom now with Dennis. Everybody else is like, hey, they voted against you, or they voted against Dusty. We should go with Dusty, So I'm wondering if, although it seemed like maybe a misstep from Becky Lee, if it'll make the show a little bit more interesting now that we got a shakeup here.
I would assume if she's a savvy player, and she does seem to be, that the sort of built-in excuse here is that, I was super close to Pati. I couldn't vote for her. I knew that the votes weren't there for Dusty. I had to throw a sympathy vote. And listen, I'm not like Robert. I'm not going to turn on my people just because they're down and vote them out. And given that they just voted Robert out for that reason, I feel like there's a good way of selling that. But, you have to sell it well, and Dusty's kind of the person you have to sell it to. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we got an emotional moment from Dusty too. I know the show was trying to give us like he is a gamer. He is a game bot. Like this man is a winner. He's a competitor. But then he does his breakdown when Patty is getting ready to go. So he's making some social connections, even though in the confessional he's telling us that he's absolutely not. And then all these people are people.
Yeah, he has this like breakdown, and he's like huddling with Pati, and he's like, "Oh man, this sucks so much. Oh, I can't believe this." But he's also the guy that was like, "Pati can go," and then afterwards, like, "Yeah, Pati could go." And so like when he's like, "Oh, I can't believe we're in this situation," he's very much just like a wolf comforting the sheep, right? Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that they put you in here with me. Oh, that sucks for you. I can't believe Manu did this to us. Now I have to eat you. Oh, it's so annoying.
Yeah, I don't think he's worried in the slightest. And honestly, he probably should be, right? Because we do see a few people putting their foot down about it. But I mean, there's so many people who know that if Dusty goes, they could potentially be the next person in the front. And then they have to be the one to take the brunt of this if this is a recurring theme. If it comes back again, are you the person in the front who left Jennye behind or Jennye behind or Amy or whoever, And so like I think it was Taran who says, if Dusty goes, there has to be another person to be first in line, and everyone's going to be terrified to do it. So I'm not really trying to start a pattern of let's vote out the person who's keeping the pace. It just felt like Pati really didn't have anywhere to turn, and the show was just giving us at home some hope because there wasn't much here.
We also see that Amy, who had quite an episode, I will say, if we're looking for like winner edits, I feel like Amy has just had like main character energy for a while. She was like one of the first people we were introduced to. She got that super dramatic rope climbing, ladder climbing segment, and then this episode she has all these big moments. And it's starting to feel like she's got a lot of focus here. But Amy, she decides not to vote. I didn't know this was an option.
Wait, no, I thought she did vote.
Oh, I thought she didn't vote.
No, she hold on. I wrote down her quote because I thought it was interesting. I'm glad you brought it up. So yeah, Amy, she votes, but she very much says like, yeah, I voted for Pati. I didn't want to vote for Pati, but I can't vote for Dusty. So
okay, see, I thought what she was saying was I didn't vote for Pati, and also, but I couldn't vote for Dusty. Hold on, I can.
Yeah,
I can double check here as well. Like we can let me look at the show of hands for Pati. I'm sorry I left you hanging back there.
Yeah. She said, oh, that's what it was. She said, you think I want to vote out Pati? If she goes, I'm next. But I can't vote out Dusty. He didn't ask to be first. So yeah.
He didn't ask for it, Chappell.
He did. You were on the right track.
Do I also need to find the beginning of this episode to see if he asked for it, Chappell?
I don't think he requested, like, let me be in the front. But everything this man told us was like, I'm a leader. I'm going to be in the lead. And then they get to him, it's like, he didn't want to do this. He didn't want to lead. I was like, I think he did. I actually think he's been dying to be in the front.
Oh, no. Oh, you're right. She does vote. Oh, my God. She does vote. The look on her face. This is how she votes.
Yeah, she's so mad. She's like,
Let me see if I can
have
recite her
authority.
quote. Her quote to you. Is
Yes.
Manu is going to ask her, Amy, why? You think I want to vote for Patty? Because guess who's after Patty? And this little game continues. It's me. I'm not voting. I just can't vote against Dusty. He never asked to be first, ever. Nobody wins in this vote.
Yeah. Patty, what? You know, like you identify who wins in this vote. It's not you. You need to vote vote out Dusty. Don't get me wrong. You don't have the votes to get him out, but you can at least try. You know, you got 3 people already on your side. I think if you team up with Dennis and Becky Lee, based on what we've seen, you might be able to swing some folks. That's already 3 votes. But she's like, I gotta go with the majority here. You think I want to vote her out? I'm next. It's like, then don't vote her out. You know, try to find a way out of this one. She was not having it.
He didn't ask for it, you know?
Ask for it. Like, it's just very confusing why they kept saying that.
I thought this was very fun. And so I think what made this fun is that, like, I think part of what I'm sort of coming to the conclusion on with these shows lately is that unexpected vote outs are more dramatic. Bo wasn't really a vote out, but it was kind of a vote out. And it was unexpected. Right. They didn't expect to be making that decision at that moment with that person. And we watched a season of Big Brother recently where they introduced a new twist that made it so that the vote outs were less expected. Like anything could theoretically happen. And so I think what makes this more dramatic and everyone's like all in tears is that like they were expecting a different vote. They were expecting a vote where it was like it's this person or it's Jennye or it's Dennis. And we have emotionally cauterized ourselves to the point where like we are fine doing either of those things. But then all of a sudden it's one of these 2 people that I really like right now. And I think that's interesting. From a strategic perspective, it's obviously less controllable, which may be a positive or a negative. But I think from a TV drama perspective, it definitely works.
Yeah, you're right. Throughout the entire episode, they're preparing themselves and even, kind of campaigning for, the vote to go a certain way. When we get to the next checkpoint, if we got to vote somebody out, I'm coming after Dennis or I'm coming after Jennye. I'm coming after Jennye and her damn cat ears. Like,
meow.
Yeah, meow. Like, if I ever hear meow again, I was like, how often is she doing it? A lot. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I hadn't heard it much. And then she's like, if I hear it again, I'm going to lose it. And I was like, what do you mean? I feel like she never says that. And then they cut to her just because this wasn't even like sometimes what they do in these shows, like with Rob, like, oh, Rob is so annoying with his camp counselor nonsense. And then they'll cut to a montage of like everything, every camp counselor thing Rob has done over 7 days. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, if you put them all together like that, it looks bad. However, with Jennye, Becky Lee was like, if I hear a meow again, I'm going to lose it. And then they cut to what's happening right then as she's going down the zip line and she's like, meow, meow, meow. It's like, okay, it's just probably fair.
But why is she doing this? That's not what is that a catchphrase? Like just meow.
She's a cat. She's got the ears.
But all the time, you just walk around and become.
Have you heard my cat?
I have. Man, I just don't understand how you could just become a cat in mid sentence. Like, oh yeah, well we were walking around talking to Jennye. Yeah, it's like Jennye, chill. We're trying to. Jennye, please, we're trying to climb a mountain.
No, it's fine. We're having fun. It's a zip line. Meow.
You're like cold and terrified, and she's in the background going meow, meow. It's like, where did this come from?
I just watched A Quiet Place Day 1, which if you've seen the trailer, it contains a cat who has to be quiet in the quiet place. And like the biggest thing I saw, like people talking about the movie was like, most unrealistic part about this movie with aliens invading and big monsters and everything was the cat not meowing all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Jennye agrees.
Meow, meow, meow. Yeah. So I think when you have those moments, you got people like, oh God, I'm ready. They're licking their chops, sharpening their knives to slit somebody's throat. Okay, the first chance I get, I'm pushing the vote. They've been subtly dropping hints every now and then it's two people, one of which, nobody expected. I think that Patty was always going to be on the chopping block. There was nothing anybody was going to be able to do to keep her name from coming up, at least in the conversation for who to vote for. But Dusty was a plot twist they weren't expecting, because now they're like, wait, if Dusty could be Dusty, that means I could be Dusty. And I wasn't ready for that. So it was a lot for them to process in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it seems to me like it probably was going to be Jennye, given that so far it felt like Becky Lee was making a lot of progress. Like, it doesn't make sense to take out Dennis, and even some other people are like, Dennis isn't even that much of a problem, whereas Jennye calls them out right after the Robert vote, and didn't seem to have a huge amount of support based on what we saw, at least. So a little bit of a stay of execution for Jennye, it seems.
Jenny's a little Big Brother coded, just a little bit. Like, swap out Lisa for Jennye, and I think you have a very similar season of Big Brother. Like Glitter Lady, Cat Lady. Like, I just really feel like making okay. Is it not the biggest Big Brother thing in the world to just be like a person who comes in with a gimmick, like I'm a cat, and then just carries that throughout the entire season? Remember Austin and his little hat?
Listen, a cat is probably, barring a mountain goat, the best climbing animal you would hope for. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a monkey would do well, but I feel like a cat is going to do well climbing a mountain.
Yeah. This feels like Jennye came in and said, I'm a cat lady. And they said, oh my God, we're going to put you on Big Brother, but there's this glitter lady we have too. Okay. All right. Lisa, you go to Big Brother. Jennye, we got something for you. Just hold on.
Lisa's never going to be able to use her glitter on the mountain, so
no, completely. And you will be uniquely equipped to climb this mountain as well as a cat. So yeah, it just felt like, man, where did this character come from? Because even when she gets, when Robert gets voted out, she explodes. Her thing is like, kind of like scorched earth at this point. Like, I'm not down for this Dennis thing. Like, I don't lie. I'm a straight shooter. I'm like, this is the type of energy that we have on those shows when we're like, no, the good thing is to not do this. Don't put a target on your back by throwing a fit about who goes home. Don't show everybody you're mad at them and like swear to get revenge because they're going to want to get you out. And then she does all those things. I said, okay, we have a decent television character here with Jennye.
Yes. I also liked, she was like, I have like an injured knee and I'm not letting anybody know about it.
Yeah. What does she mean? Because
I know. I was like, I hope it's not a serious injury, because like I feel like they wouldn't let you do this.
She said, I have a significant knee injury. And I was like, well, how significant? Because production is interviewing you while you say this. Like, man, y'all, but he's out. And they're like, yeah, keep the party going. Keep the tape rolling. It's fine.
Yeah, I was like it's not like this is a secret from production. It's a secret from the other contestants, which makes sense. If you're hurting, you want to not show it because you don't want to give them an extra reason to get rid of you. But if it's like a serious knee injury, we saw what happened to Tony. Like they're not gonna play, right? They're not gonna take chances.
No, they're gonna take you out of the game. The crazy thing is that the same exact thing was happening to Patty. Patty's like, damn, my knee is starting to mess up. Then I think she smacks into the side of the mountain. At one point, she's like, I hit the mountain really hard, my knee is messed up. I'm thinking, well, Patty, the one thing you had over Jennye was that you at least had two good knees. Now you're screwed, baby. I was like, oh man, Patty, this is tough. That was what she could have used to throw Jennye under the bus, but she got nothing now.
Yes. So yeah, let's talk about the challenge a little bit, because this was definitely more fun purely because it did put the contestants through more hell than normal. A lot of fear went into this challenge, and it made it a lot more fun. Once again, they had them go in pairs, and I think they just really love like one person talking through the thing for the other person, and what that does for like bonding and for the show. You have Amy being like, no, look at me.
Look at me. Look at me. Look at my face.
Who was she with? Like, she was with Aaron?
Darren was just like,
Darren. Taran, look at me. Taran, no. Taran, stop it. Taran, you can do it. Taran, stop.
I'm like, boy, look at her. Before she grab you off that mountain, you better look at her, damn it.
Listen, you have more to fear than the mountain at this point, Taran. You better do what she says.
Do what that lady says. You're right, though. If they were doing this one by one, they would just be like crying to themselves, like, oh my God, oh my God. At least now you get people like trying to help them out, giving some motivational pep talk. It seems like it worked. It's like you just need somebody to be like, we're not getting off the mountain until you let go of the side of the mountain. So that's the quickest way down. You got to do it. The rappel part I thought was scarier than the zip line part. I know the zip line part is where you have to let the hands go, but I also know that's kind of how a zip line works. So I'm like, okay, but the coming down and I can't see my feet, that would kind of make me nervous.
Yeah, so they were trying like when you're rappelling in general, and wasn't quite the kind of rappelling I've done because I'm normally like hooked up to a rope that is like attached to me. They are holding on to a rope. They also have a rope that's attached to them, but they're also like holding on to a rope. So it's not quite the same. But as they were talking about, generally you want to keep your feet on the wall or the rock so that you are in like almost a sitting position because if your legs are hanging and dangling, it's going to be a way scarier. You do not feel as solid and you're just kind of like crashing against the rock. And as we saw, that was what was happening to many of them. It feels like it was hard for them to get their feet under them because of the angle of the rock and the way that they were gripping onto this rope. So that was making it a lot more difficult and scarier, I think. And then once they get to the bottom of it, I don't think it was the zip line itself that was scary, as you mentioned. It was letting go of the rope that they have been clinging to for dear life over the last however many minutes. And I can say from my experience climbing, like that is something that if you don't have experience with it, it's very difficult to, as I think it might have been Dusty or Becky Lee that said this, like it's so hard to wrap your brain around. Like you've just been doing a thing where you're saying, don't let go, don't let go, don't let go. Now all of a sudden I'm supposed to let go. And on a normal zip line, it's a little different. You're like either jumping off or like moving forward. I haven't really done zip lining before, so I wouldn't know exactly. But you should be able to like feel the weight of yourself being held, I think, by the zip line before you're even going, right? Whereas with this, you're holding onto this rope. You can't, I think, feel yourself being caught by the zip line until you let go. So you just have to blind faith over this massive like edge, just let go and then hope that you get caught by it, right? And that is terrifying. So I definitely understand where a lot of this fear came from, and it was very fun to watch them be very scared.
Yeah. To be clear, I've been saying this is episode 1. You would never catch me anywhere near this mountain. That is just there's nothing for me here. I'm not rappelling down the side of a mountain. I'm not ziplining off of the mountain at all. But I like when they actually get going on the zip line. You start to relax a little bit more. Once you realize again that now you have faith in the thing that's holding you up. You're like, okay, I can enjoy myself because it took Taran about half the trip down before he realized, okay, like. This is kind of fun.
Okay, I'm having fun now. Okay, let's go. This is fun. Yay!
Yes, like you agree. This is fun. This is fun, right? Believe me. Yeah, good for him. I really like am impressed by a lot of them. They're like, I'm terrified of heights, right? Because like they're crying, Pumpkin there, and there were a couple others. And we're just like they're up there in tears, shaking like a leaf. I think Nick was another one where it's just like they're terrified, but they did it, and there's something commendable about that because I definitely would not have done this.
Yeah,
like, sorry.
I liked Taran just being like, "This wasn't my show."
Right. He said that. He said, I don't know if I would have done this. Had I known I had to go down the side of a mountain, I wouldn't have signed up for this. I thought we were hiking.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, now that I'm here, it's like, I guess, but I definitely should have said no to this show.
Look, at least he's self-aware. He knows, this ain't for me. I thought it was, but I feel like now you're past the point of no return. Like after you've done this, how do you quit? How do you even say, oh no, the next thing will be too scary. Bro, you just jumped off a mountain essentially. You're fine. Everything else after this should be cake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they get through it. It was very fun to watch, I felt. And we get back to the issue that we've talked about before. So basically what happened here is that and it did feel a little bit difficult to understand the severity of their infraction here, right? Like it was Manu was like, "What is the one rule that I told you at the start of this?" And it's like, I'm sure there were a ton of rules.
And they're like, okay, no violence, I'm sure. And then there's, oh, well, you did say if we quit, then we gotta throw them, we gotta lose the money, right? Like we can't keep the money if we quit. You also said we have to make it to the checkpoint on time. He's like, no, the other rules. He's like, oh, stay together, stay together. That's the way. It's like, I told you, you have to work as a team and a group. He's like, okay,
I
well,
feel
I'll
like,
go.
listen, I'm not like the challenges themselves. I'm not the one looking down over the edge of a mountain, so I can't judge. I'm not the one who is staring at Manu Bennett like this. Like, yes, sir.
Right.
But I do feel like if Manu Bennett was like, what was the one rule? Stay together. I feel like there was a little bit of room to be like, Manu, what does it look like?
We're together.
We're together right
Whoa.
now.
Yeah.
No?
No. Yeah. He had to go in and specify. I said as a group. And they're like, I mean, we were a group. He's like, no,
Are we not a group?
we're a group now. Manu, dang, you late. You late to the party.
You just don't understand our relationship dynamics, Manu. It's
Yeah, we
divide
got this
and
figured out.
conquer.
Right, right. Slow and steady, the whole thing,
We're just
he wasn't happy.
traditional.
Yeah, he didn't like this. He didn't like this at all. I felt bad for them because I feel like the show to us kind of just like there's no consequence, right? We're watching it. Patty's in the back. She'll get there within the next 10, 15 minutes after they do this. It doesn't feel like there's so much at stake when she's that
Mhm.
far behind because they're like it's 200 feet, but it's really only 200 feet. That's not that far. Especially if you don't see the sun is about to set right this second. You're like, all right, it's not like Patty, run. I don't know if they need more like more stakes between checkpoints to incentivize them to stay together or for them to move at a certain pace. I even think a ticker on the screen would be cool if they were doing like 30 minutes to sunset or something like that. To where you
Yeah,
think,
just a
okay,
sense
this is
of
getting tense.
scale.
Yeah.
Like how far behind are they really? Like, and where is Patty
Yeah.
like when we're seeing that they're separate, we're seeing one group and then we're seeing Patty behind. But like I don't actually know how far Patty behind Patty is. I say this about The Amazing Race all the time. We cover a show on YouTube or Nebula called Jet Lag that does this very well. Give us a map. And I know that they have a very like brief map, but like give us a map with some faces or something so that we know relatively where they are in comparison to each other. If you're going to show us like, hey, Patty really fell behind, I want you to show me like the line map of this particular section and show us where everyone is and then see that Patty is still like halfway through while they're like 3/4 of the way through. It's like, wow, she's so far behind. They really left her out to dry. But the way that they were showing it was like, here they are on a snowy patch and here she is on a snowy patch. And it's like, she could literally be right behind them as far as this angle and editing goes. Like, I don't know. I'm just taking your word for it.
Yeah, and it looked like they were all holding on to like the rope, and so it's
Mhm.
like, we ain't loser. She right there. Like if I shake the rope hard enough, she gonna feel it. So I'm the same way. I want them to really show us, they got so much time to get to this checkpoint before the sun goes down. Obviously, if they don't get it, they have to sleep on the ground. And this time, I really thought they had a weather delay already. Maybe it might be kind of tense. It took them a while to get off to do the zip line thing. So I thought, okay, maybe there is a suspense here. And no, it was fine. Like Dusty's pace was great apparently because they're not seemingly in danger of never making a checkpoint again.
They make the checkpoint every episode.
Yeah, that one.
Everything's
It
been
happened.
chill,
Yeah,
even with Patty lagging behind.
Yeah, and she was the weakest link. So it's kind of like, well, if she's the slowest person, I don't have any doubt in my mind that they'll make all the rest of the checkpoints. They have 7 more days, and I guess it's a checkpoint every day. But it can, I mean, it really can't be because we've seen weather delays slow them down for an entire day, and then they just pick back up and still make the checkpoint in time.
So yeah, who knows about all of this, but
Yeah.
this one did feel a little bit like there's a world where they made this twist so that it would like shake up the strategy, but I think there's also a world, more likely world, where they were just like, vote out the slow people already, this is what the whole point of the show, jeez.
Yeah, just stop it.
Fine,
Stop.
you'll either vote out the fastest or the slowest. How do you feel
Like,
about that, contestants?
like, I mean, it's a little inconvenient for us to only have 2 options, but okay. Like, you know, like it's like it slowed me down a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna just shake up too much. I think you're right. I think they want people to be, you know, these grizzled athletes that have, you know, conquered this feat, and it just doesn't look as cool if everybody's falling down every 3 seconds, getting their foot stuck in the holes. Like, stop voting out all the people we like. We wanted to see what's the guy they voted out a couple episodes ago? He had a target on his back from like day one.
Jeff.
I can't think of his name. Huh? Oh,
Jeff.
Jeff. Yeah, they're like, we wanted to see Jeff and Dusty who climbed the mountain with Becky Lee. Why are y'all voting out all our faves? Yeah, they shut it down.
See, I think this is the thing, right? They want the winner/winners of the summit to be like, yeah, we're like tough. Like
Yeah.
this is a hard competition. And so that's why, conspiracy theory, we're getting so much Amy's a badass content.
Yeah, because she's gonna make it.
Because she's the one slower person that's going to make it. And Pati would have made it if not for this twist. Becky wanted to drag her up the mountain. And if Pati had made it, then she would have probably gotten more badass content too. But instead, it's like, oh, Pati's so slow. Pati's so slow. Oh, Pati's gone now. But don't worry. If Amy makes it, it's because she's a badass and she actually, you know, stepped it up, right? And it's not because we're just going to make sure that people make it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Amy is having a good showing, you know.
Which is
not
not to say that Amy is not a badass.
Yeah,
But I feel like I don't know. I might be reading.
Story.
I might be reading. Yeah.
I mean, it's a story of triumph if Amy makes it to the top, right? Because she's initially, I think she was one of the mom squad initially, and then it was like, okay, the moms are holding us back, and then it was like, okay, now she's got an alliance, but we cut out one of her main person, Jeff. You know, we've seen Amy struggle from the bottom. We've seen her towards the back of the pack, but she's resilient and she's still here. And so it would be a great story if she's one of the ones who makes it to the end. They said they're voting out people at every checkpoint. Do you think there's any world where Amy could just get voted out based on the people left in the game?
I mean, not right now. It feels like there's plenty of targets in front of her. And, you know, there's Dennis, there's Jennye, and then Pati goes out of the game. Don't trust Nick.
Which was crazy.
He's a snake. He said he was going to never vote one of us.
Which, again, is crazy because she says that and leaves Amy. Amy's like, well, damn. I mean, I don't trust him, but I still need to vote with him. You know, like, what do you want me to say? I need Nick. You're going now, and I'm at the back of the pack. I need everybody I can get. Don't trust Nick. It's crazy. She doesn't have any choice. She needs to be taking all alliances from now on.
I mean, I'd sooner go with Becky Lee if I'm Amy than Nick if I had to choose. But like right now, I don't have to choose. It feels like so.
Yeah. No, I will accept whoever wants to work with me currently.
I mean, Amy shouldn't trust anybody, to be honest.
None of them should trust anybody, you know, like this is, like, but Nick being singled out, I was like, he didn't really do anything. I mean, yeah, he voted her out, but I mean, it wasn't like Nick whipped the votes against her. You know, I think they had a pretty good relationship. It was just, if Nick votes out Dusty, Nick could be next. You know, there's no point in Nick getting rid of another fast person that he could keep in front of him. So
Nick got a little Roberted.
Oh yeah, just a little bit. Just a bit. It's kind of like, oh yeah, you didn't do what you said you were gonna do, despite it not having being in your benefit, and we're gonna hold it against you.
All right. Well, we're halfway through then.
Yes. Is it 10 episodes? 10, right?
10. I think it's 10. I think we're gonna get to 10. So we are halfway through. This is the episode that they were like, all right, it's time to vote out the cat lady, and then the show was like,
okay, but then again, no.
That's funny. Is that the cat lady joke? I didn't hear it the first time.
That was the cat lady joke. Yeah. This is for those watching and or listening to this podcast. It has been a technical disaster for us.
From minute one, we have
literally
been in
from minute
hell.
one. We restarted the recording about 3 times. As you might have noticed, the soundbite didn't work before. I think I played it twice before as well.
I only heard it. I only didn't hear it that you played it once, and then the second time I was like, "Wait, what's going on?" So yeah, we made it, Tara. We did it. The summit episode 5. We made
Listen, it was very scary, but we let go of the podcasting rope, and we're now ziplining to the end of this podcast. A better episode of the summit. 5 more episodes of this feels like a lot of episodes.
It does.
We'll see. We'll see.
They got to change it up more. You know, I like that we met the snow line this time, you know, because at first when they were talking about the snow, they were like, well, we can't have them walking in the snow. There's no visibility here. I was thinking, well, dang, why are they climbing a snowy mountain if they're not going to walk in the snow? Look, we found some snow. So maybe they'll hit a couple more of those. Maybe they'll do some more random traverses across things. I think they keep showing this clip of these 2 ropes and someone's holding on to either side of them. I haven't quite figured out what that is, but I know it's coming. So this is like the mid-season of the show. And so I think there might be some bigger things on the other side of this that are going to make the show even more interesting.
I hope so, Chappell. Well, I think that is what we have for you then this week for the summit. In the meantime, you can find me over on Twitch watching Survivor live, playing some games, hanging out. We've got some other shows as well going on. If you are into scripted shows, we just recorded the spooky, scary episode of The Tastemakers, where we listed the top 5 horror movies of the year. If you're interested in that. Yeah, what do you got going on, Chappell?
I'm on Recap Kickback talking about Abbott Elementary. G and I just dropped our podcast episode about season 4, episodes 2 and 3. So every other week we're going to give you a recap of Abbott as it is starting its 4th season. Also, The Walking Dead coverage is over there as well on recapkickback.com with me, Jessica Leese, AJ Mass, and Josh Wigler. And so catch up with all of the Walking Dead coverage as we complete The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 2, The Book of Carol. And then this week coming up, we're talking about Beauty in Black. Mari and I are covering a Netflix show by Tyler Perry. It is insane. And the next week, we're going to have Bryce Isaiah come on to talk about that and more on recapkickback.com.
All right. Well, I think then that is what we have for you today. I just want Manu Bennett to say, but then again, no to everything, to any no that I have in my life.
Yeah, but then again, nah.
But then again, no. So
brutal.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us this week, and we will see all of you next time.